There's no denying the fact that K-pop contracts are exploitative, especially now that for some reason idols are getting younger and younger. And I've been seeing people saying things like you should have known what you signed up for, or even if you're a minor, your parents should have watched out for you to make sure that you knew what you were signing up for. And I think that's really messed up because even if you sign a contract, it's okay to mature and grow up and realize that wait, that contract is messed up. No one is denying the fact that NewJeans has to fulfill the contractual obligation. But the question I am asking specifically is that contract fair? Is it ethical? Just because it's on a contract does not mean that you cannot question the fairness of that contract later on in the future, which is what I think the girls are trying to do here, which is what I think a lot of groups should be able to do. The way these contracts are set up, they're either set up to put you in a lot of debt, so you have to rely on the company on the longer run. They are set up in the way that you don't own anything. Companies can own your name, they can own your image. Take Big Bang, for example, a group that's been active for almost 20 years, with the individual members being active for way longer. Once they signed with YG Entertainment, YG Entertainment filed the trademark for Big Bang's name, the Big Bang member's name. So even though G Dragon, for example, who produces most of Big Bang's songs and most of Big Bang's hits, has been active since he was 6 years old, G Dragon belonged to YG Entertainment for the longest time. And even though it was pretty clear that the Big Bang members no longer had a good relationship with YG Entertainment by 2021, they did not have the rights to Big Bang's name until 2024. These are the issues that I have with the contracts that you guys are trying to act like the girls are insane for no longer wanting to abide to. Imagine debuting at 14 years old under a 7 year contract and not liking your label and then not being able to leave your label because they own your birth name, stage name, group's name, and now you have to start all over, build your career even though you've had a career that existed for 7 years. And the same goes for a group like Big Bang that's been active for 20 years and a group like 21 that's been active for 15 years. Even though the 21 members were treated unfairly and were disbanded, YG Entertainment still had the rights over the group's name, the rights over the group's music, and the girls couldn't perform the music and the girls couldn't hold tours. The girls couldn't really do much without getting permission from YG to start with, which obviously killed their brand reputation. So then they had to rebuild their brand again, which is so difficult, especially when you're already heavily associated with other brands. Who wants to deal with something like that? So the girls lost all the success that they had, and now that they're ready to get back on track with their career, they have to do it under YG Entertainment. YG Entertainment didn't give them the right to their group's name. If YG Entertainment wanted to be fair, they should have given those girls the right to leave with the group name. But no, they wanted the profit, they wanted control of the girls even after they already left. That's the thing. NewJeans and Minhejin are fighting from K-pop companies. They're fighting the 360 deals because you should be allowed to at least own your birth name. You should be allowed to at least own your image. And for the people criticizing the girls because of the investors or whatnot, I'm sorry, you are insane if you want me to feel bad for you because you invested your money into a bunch of 14-year-olds. You should do better with your money. You should be more financially educated when it comes to your money, because I'm not going to feel bad for you if you gave all your money to a bunch of people who put all their trust in 14-year-olds. I don't care if investors lose their trust in K-pop because the system K-pop currently functions under does not work. It's not ethical. It's not only abusive, it's invasive. The fact that you don't get to be in a relationship, the fact that you don't get to have your own opinion, the fact that you don't get to have a say in the things you choose to do brand deals with, the things you choose to act in, the things you choose to sing. You don't get a say about anything. Which, okay, yeah, they knew what it was like before they decided to sign the contract, but that should not be the reason. Because if you go back to TVXQ, who challenged SM Entertainment allegedly for their 13-year contract, allegedly in the past, SM Entertainment kept their idols in 13-year contracts, and then TVXQ members were like, no, that's actually messed up. There's no reason why my contract should be more than 7 years, and they took it to court, and the groups won. And of course, yeah, they were blacklisted. A lot of K-pop groups have benefited from that, so I don't get why NewJeans members trying to set another precedent in the industry is seen as them being bratty or them being ungrateful. What should they be grateful for? The NewJeans members are actually part of the reason why NewJeans worked. If NewJeans succeeds in what they're doing, we will maybe see the same system the West uses, where you own your image. Zayn Malik gets to be Zayn Malik. Mary Cyrus gets to be Mary Cyrus. Mary Cyrus will sign a 3 album deal in 5 years, and once she's done, she could either choose to go back to the same label, or she could just jump from Interscope to Columbia to Atlantic to Hollywood, whichever label she wants to work with. Also, the people who make money from tours and merch are the artists themselves, whereas in K-pop, people who benefit the most from tours and merch are the companies. That means that these people do all the work. They're the ones who have to be there for the act. They're the ones who have to be there in the studio. They're the ones who have to be there on tour. And when it comes down to everything, they get the least cut, which makes no sense, because even if you're not working on your music, there is so much more to being an idol than just making music. And I definitely agree with them. It's time for things to change. This industry has been around for only 30 years. It's a very young industry. So I don't see why change can happen now. And I definitely agree with the girls that you should be able to at least own your name. You should be able to at least own your birth name, own your image, own the group name you've been associated with for the past 7-20 years. There's been a lot of examples in the past too. Look at Infinity, a K-pop group that debuted in the second gen. They were not able to take their group name with them, and after they wanted to have a comeback, I think it was in 2023 or 2024, the CEO that was in charge of the group in the past ended up giving the group the right to their name, because he believed that although the group is no longer profitable, the members should still be allowed to make music if they wanted, just for them to have a comeback and become more profitable than they ever was as a group before. And now I'm sure that CEO is eating his words. But look at Momoland, Daisy, for example. Allegedly, of course, she was kicked out of Momoland. But even after she was kicked out, she was not allowed to make music. She was not allowed to be in TV shows. She was not allowed to open TikTok or Twitter or YouTube, because the company owned her image. Even though she was no longer affiliated with the group, the company owned her image. She couldn't make money in the entertainment industry anymore, and she had to fight a 2 year long battle to be able to gain rights to her name and gain rights to her image. Take LOONA, for example. Allegedly, the contract the girls had were made to just make money for the investors and the company, where the company put them in a contract where the girls had to recoup the cost of everything that they did. When in actuality, the way K-pop is supposed to work, it would be the companies investing in the music, investing in the music videos, investing in the tours, investing in the outfits, investing in the makeup, and then the girls get whatever cut is left. But no, the contract was put in place in a way where the girls were also responsible for the cost, but then they took an even smaller percentage of the profit. Then the girls were just going to be in debt while the company made more money. That's not fair, is it? And even though the girls signed the contract, yeah, they did, they were still able to go to court and prove that no, this contract is messed up, which is why I'm actually mad about this whole thing in Min Hee-jin instead of what is actually trying to be done here, because Min Hee-jin was the CEO of Adore when NewJeans debuted, so she knew what kind of contract she put those girls under. So I don't get why she's trying to come out and act like she's innocent and out of this. Min Hee-jin knew the kind of contract she put those girls under, so that's why I actually believe that the girls are going to win, because new Min Hee-jin knows the contract. She knows where the contract is being fair. She knows where the contract is pretty much theft. She knows where the contract becomes too evasive and crosses the line. And now that she's no longer in HYBE and Adore, she's going to be able to use that against HYBE and Adore, which is why I still am insistent that the girls are going to win, because Min Hee-jin was the system before she left. It's also the same thing with Vicha, who was just exposed that JYP were buying properties and putting them under the girls' training debt, but the girls don't own the property. So even if they made enough money to pay off the property, it would never be theirs. It would still allegedly be owned by JYPE, but then for some reason they're paying for it and they owe $500,000, even though the girls made profit. The girls did make profit, but then they, so for some reason, owe $500,000 from the $2.5 million house JYP bought. But because it was in their contract, the same contract you guys are defending, the girls cannot do anything about it unless they file to terminate it, and it being seen as unfair. And of course, they have the privilege of having the California child labor law protecting them, but if they didn't have that, the contract would still be unethical to start with. The same thing happened to Mary Cyrus, allegedly, when she was still under Disney Channel and Disney owned her name. I think it's Hope Cyrus or something like that. And then when she wanted to leave Disney, Disney was like, no, we actually own your name, so you cannot use your name. And she, at 15 years old, had to change her name from Hope Cyrus to Mary Rose Cyrus, something like that, which is so sad that Like, we're actually defending things like this, where Disney, the type of contract Disney signs is similar to the K-pop contract, where you are in a movie, the movie has soundtracks, you go on tour for the movie, you are on the merch for the movie, but you don't really own it. The Disney owns it, the corporation owns it allegedly, and you take a cut, which makes no sense because it's literally your image. It's literally your image that's being used to sell all these things, but for some reason, a different entity outside of you owns it. That's the same thing that's happening in K-pop, and we are calling NewJeans members ungrateful for wanting to do something about that. You're actually insane. And finally, looking at the other industries, for example, KG from Vicha used to be an influencer before she joined JYPE, but according to their contract, the same contract you guys are defending, she no longer owns her image as an influencer. JYP owns her image now. They own her name, and I think she went from KM to KG, or she was KM before, but then she changed it to KG when she was on the JYP. So she technically has the name KM, but JYP owns KG and owns her image and likeness. That means that she can't go back to being an influencer because JYP thinks that they should get paid for her being an influencer, even though that was an image she already built for herself beforehand. That's the same thing the NewJeans members are fighting against. If you're an actress and you sign a 3 movie deal with a studio, you will still allowed, as long as it's not interfering with your contract, to go work on other movies. They don't own your image. They own maybe the distribution of the movie. They own the character. You don't own the character, but they don't own your image as Scarlett Johansson, whatever. I don't know any actress names or whatever. But like, it's the same thing with influencers. If you're doing an ad with a certain company, they could use the ad anytime they want, as much as they want, as long as they pay you for it. But they don't own your image. I tell you that you're not allowed to work with the same company that sells the same thing for maybe 6 months, for maybe 3 months. You can negotiate that, but they don't own your image. They cannot manipulate the ad to make it look like you were saying something you didn't say. And if they use the ad for longer than they paid you for, they have to pay you for using it for longer than they did. The same thing for advertisements. That's the same way you get royalties for things like that. But in the K-pop industry, you don't. So why is it that every other industry, the entertainment industry, the advertisement industry, the content creation industry, the contracts are fair, the contracts are centered in the person making the content? They're the ones that stand to benefit from it the most. But for some reason, when it comes to K-pop, you guys actually believe that the labels should be able to own the individuals. That's disgusting. That's literally insane. And like, you should literally check your bias, because if you remove Bin Haejin from this, and if you ignore the fact that Hani allegedly lied, I think she lied about being mistreated, what is wrong about what they're trying to do? Every time and again, literally at this point, 3 to 4 times a year, we see idols expose the fact that the companies have overreached. Look at Chanha. She lost the name of her Instagram, lost the name of her dog's Instagram, because for some reason the company felt that they owned that. Chanha lost her YouTube. The same thing for the boys who left IST Entertainment and went to 100 Entertainment, I think. They lost their Instagram, they lost their YouTube name. That's money. You might think it doesn't matter, but the algorithm already figured out who likes the boys. The algorithm already figures out what works for Chanha, but now she has to build that all over again. And that takes years, and years takes time, and time costs money. That's data that anyone would pay for that they lost because they no longer wanted to be in the same company. That's overreaching. You should own your YouTube channel. That's insane. Even if they don't win, I am on their side, because this is the thing HYBE does not want you to know about, what is really going on with them and NewJeans. Okay, so what if Dispatch exposed Min Hee-jin? You're not smart either. We are seeing exactly what you guys are trying to do.